morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today I have got 4 exclusive cards to reveal from the upcoming Twilight Masquerade expansion. The lovely folks at the Pokémon Company International have given me 4 cards to exclusively reveal in English, and I'll be honest with you, this is more than I've had before, so I am absolutely delighted. And now I get to show them all off to you. And apparently, Pokemon think I like Ace-Specs. Because we are overflowing with Ace-Specs. I've got so many Ace-Specs, I don't know what to do with them. Except I do. I'm going to tell you all about them. Starting with Unfair Stamp. Unfair by name and unfair by nature. I dislike this card. I am not probably going to ever play this card in a deck. But I do feel fairly confident I'm going to make a bunch of overly aggressive decks and have my day ruined by this card. But here's the thing. I've got friends who are less aggressive players than me, in playstyle, not in mana. I like to think I'm a fairly lovely chap. And they have a very different opinion about this card. Now, it can only be used if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Important to note, it says knocked out, not knocked out by damage. So however it was KO'd will work. Remember, poison, burn, etc. happen during Pokemon Checkup, and they will not activate this. Very important. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck. You get 5 cards, your opponent gets 2. So basically, after your opponent takes a KO, you wreck their hand. You put them down to a 2-card hand. Now, compare this to something like Roxanne, for instance, which is a similar kind of thing, but your opponent's got to have taken 3 prizes, and it's a supporter card, and you start seeing why this is an Ace-Spec. Ace-Specs, remember, are one of any kind in your deck. You can have a total of 1 Ace-Spec in your deck. If you're playing this, you're playing 1 copy, and you're not playing any others. And the thing is, this is going to change the game. This is literally going to change how the game gets played. Because now, if I'm playing an overly aggressive deck, I take a prize early on, and my opponent goes and gets Unfair Stamp, puts me down to a 2-card hand, and my deck just stalls. And it isn't a case of, well, what's he? It's only if your opponent draws into Unfair Stamp. Now we got Arven in the game. Any deck that really wants to play Unfair Stamp is going to play Arven so they can get it. Wassy, I hear you shout. What if they don't draw Arven? Luminion. It's a Pokemon that's really easy to search out. That will get the Arven, which will get the Unfair Stamp. We are not in a format right now where we're seeing if we're going to draw into it. Nah, mate, you're going to draw into this. If you are playing Unfair Stamp and you really want to be able to grab it basically anytime you like, unless you're having a horrendous game, you are going to be able to grab this when you want to grab it. And it's going to change the way games are played. Because if you now go overly aggressive, you are going to get punished. And if you take 1 prize, and that's the thing, right? If you take 1 prize, you're not that far into the game probably, especially with aggressive decks. So that means you're going to have a very large deck of cards. Which means going down to a 2-card hand is going to be even more impactful than normal, because the more cards there are in your deck, the less likely you are to draw out of a card like this. And that's kind of my point. For setup decks, it's amazing because you've got a really good answer against aggressive decks. For aggressive decks, it is, I'm going to say it, unfair, but maybe that's the point. Now, if you want another Ace-Spec, how about Survival Brace? It's a very nice card if the Pokemon this card is attached to has full HP and would be knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon. It is not knocked out, and it goes down to 10 HP remaining, and then gets discarded. Some of you may remember the old card Focus Sash. I do. I played a lot of this card. It's this, but only for fighting Pokemon. Now that's fine, because general rule, I've played fighting Pokemon way more than I've played anything else over the years. And I could play 4 of them, and that was lovely. This is that, but you can only play 1. And the answer essentially is, how much do you not want to be KO'd? Now, you've got to have full HP, so if your opponent's playing anything that can drop damage counters or whatever, that is going to ruin your day, and that's a problem. Like, against an Iron Valiant deck, for instance, this ain't going to work. Because Iron Valiant is going to use its ability to drop damage counters, and once they've done that, this gets turned off. And the question really is, how much do you not want to be KO'd? Because we have a different version of this card. We've got Giant Cape. And the real question is, like, for low HP Pokemon, this is actually better. Take Snorlax. Snorlax is a really annoying Pokemon that's kind of sitting there in the active, really hoping it doesn't get KO'd. So you can play Hero's Cape, and it gives you an extra 100 HP, and that's lovely. But Snorlax doesn't have huge HP to begin with. It's still going to get KO'd a bit. Whereas with this, as long as your opponent isn't able to drop damage counters, you are not getting one-hit KO'd. You're definitely not getting one-hit KO'd because your opponent's not allowed to one-hit KO you. 250 is good, but you can't KO me is better. Of course, as always, language is important here. It is damage from an attack. So something like Roaring Moon could still get an instant one-hit KO just by doing its instant one-hit KO thing. It's allowed to do that. But also, Frenzied Gouging puts 208 damage on it and leaves it at 30 HP. And that's kind of annoying for it. So maybe it's not the end of the world. This is another one. And this is not an every deck kind of card, all right? This is I'm playing the kind of deck where I really, really, really desperately want to stay alive for a turn or two kind of deck. This is not a card you play in a deck that trades. This is for stall decks, or control decks, or tank decks. That is where this card comes in very handy. One Pokemon, gotta keep it alive. Here we go. What's that I hear you say? 2 Ace-Specs aren't enough. I got you, ladies and gentlemen. I got you. Scoop Up Cyclone, which we've seen before. This is not the first time we've had Scoop Up Cyclone in the Pokemon TCG. This is actually the second Ace-Spec from back in Gen 5 when we last had Ace-Specs, which is being reprinted. The other one was Master Ball, which is kind of interesting. Master Ball last time round, hot garbage, nobody played it. Master Ball this time round, Lugia's a fan. And it's just Lugia. Lugia's the only deck that cares. That's a lie. You do see it popping up in other decks, but it's mostly Lugia. But I'll tell you what, it's better than last time. Is Scoop Up Cyclone better than last time? And I tell you, last time round, Scoop Up Cyclone, good card. Saw a bunch of play, was good, but it was a kind of card where when people top cut with this card, when they had a good tournament result using this card, you saw a post about it. It was a kind of card that was unusual enough to do well with that people made a point of being like, not being funny, totally just top cut with this card. And that tells you that it's a good card, absolutely viable, not the best Ace-Spec around. Just lets you pick up one of your Pokemon. So think of it like Scoop Up Net, except there's no limiting factors here. You can pick up anything. Think of it like Super Scoop Up, but it doesn't matter whether you flip heads or not. No one's even making you flip a coin. It's a good card. Now, it's awkward, right? So if we go back to Survival Brace is you're gonna one-hit KO me and I want to stop you. Scoop Up Cyclone is you're not gonna one-hit KO me, but you are going to 2-hit KO me. So you're going to hit me, I'm going to use Scoop Up Cyclone, and then you're not actually able to KO me, and job's a good un. You pick up, you put back down, you have survived. That's where this card comes in. So, and remember, we got Hero's Cape flicking around in there as well. That's the I just need a little extra HP. So, you've got all of these different options, and you can go with them as you will. Hero's Cape is, I want a little bit more HP. You know, if I'm healing, etc., keep me alive, that's good. Scoop Up Cyclone is, if you're going to 2-hit KO me, but not 1-hit KO me, I can heal in between. And Survival Brace is, you're going to 1-hit KO me, I want to stop you. And essentially, it just comes down to what deck you're playing, what matchups you're expecting, how decks are going to be hitting you. That's how the decision gets made. And then don't play Unfair Stamp, because that would be unfair to me, who always plays aggressive decks. But finally, we've got Lucian, Full Art Lucian. And actually, right, I'm delighted about this. I opened a box of cards from Japan the other day, and I pulled Full Art Lucian and Unfair Stamp in the same box. And I thought, yeah, I get to reveal these cards. That's quite lovely. Also, as a weird coincidental side note, I also opened another Japanese box from which I pulled Reboot Pod and Full Art Iron Boulder EX, which you may remember, and if you don't, I'm about to tell you, they were my Temporal Forces reveals. Now, obviously, I revealed them in English, but opening a box and getting both the cards I revealed, that's weird, but very, very pleasant. So Lucian then, I've actually got a lot of love for Lucian. And the reason I have a lot of love for Lucian is Lucian has had exactly one card previously in the Pokemon TCG. It was Lucian's Assignment. I played it in my Donphan Prime deck. I don't think I ever saw anyone else playing Lucian's Assignment in their deck, but I did. And I'm delighted. What does new Lucian do? Completely different. Both players shuffle their hand and put it at the bottom of their deck, and then flip a coin. If heads, you draw 6 cards. If tails, you draw 3. So it can backfire. If I flip tails and my opponent flips heads, then I play the supporter card that gives me a 3-card hand and them a 6-card hand. Not ideal. And yet, I like this card. Old Lucian moved energy around. This is wildly different to that. But I'll tell you what, I still like this card. And here's the thing. If I'm playing a control deck, I'm risking this in the early game. If my opponent's got a hand of 6 and I give him another hand of 6, sure, I've refreshed their hand, it might be better, it might be worse, etc. It's fine. If they've got a hand of 1, I'm not playing this card. I'm not going to put them from a hand of 1 to a hand of 6. But if they're sitting there with a hand of 6, I play this and I'm like, look, it might work. If it works, brilliant. If it doesn't work, But if it does work, my opponent goes from a hand of 6 down to a hand of 3. And kind of like we talked about with Unfair Stamp, if it's early in the game, and I put my opponent down to a low hand size, especially when it's early and they've not played that many cards, so their deck is very full, they are much less likely to draw out of it, and that is going to give me the time I need. I think control decks are going to make the most use of this, but imagine playing an aggro deck and just hitting this beautifully on like turn 2, and all of a sudden you've set up, you're going aggro and your opponent's got a 3-card hand staring you down. It's an awkward card, and I don't know if it's the kind of card I'm ever going to play in a deck, but I'm absolutely telling you this is fun and could be good. I like this probably way more than I should like it, but I do like it, and I just love the idea that we're going to be able to sit here and just be like, hey, no pressure, but it's turn 2 and you've got a 3-card hand. You better draw out of it because I am rolling. Plus, it's Lucian, and I've got a real soft spot for Lucian. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the new ones, and that's what you need to know. So now it's over to you guys. Oh, actually, one more shout out to Pokemon for giving me these reveals. I love revealing cards. It makes me super happy. I used to see other people getting their English language reveals for new Pokemon sets, and I used to get very jealous. Now I get to do that, and it makes me very happy. But now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me how excited you are. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and all kinds of fun things. And of course, very important, look after yourself till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.